Okay, so here let me give you a couple more examples in this third video. A couple more examples of major moving to minor. Okay, I'm not using an electric guitar, so kind of rules out bends and certain type of electric effects, but that's okay. So we talked about ascending with one scale and descending with another. And it's important to know the positions, the fingering really, really well, so you don't have to think about how to finger it. That's been memorized. So that's very important there. Okay, so we talked about major. That's the best way, right? But other options you have are ascending with major and then shifting to minor in the same direction. I tend to think of music directionally, so it's very important to be mindful of when notes are ascending and descending, because directionality is everything. It's the final arbiter in how notes, consecutive notes and or intervals are going to sound. Directionality is what gives the notes their character. And we tend to hear things intervallically, or the spaces between the notes. So because we hear spaces between the notes, that it can be inferred that we also hear notes directionally. So let's talk about this for a second. I'll start with major, let's say. Did this one before, so I'll bring this in again. Do-do-do-do-do. And then I'll go up higher and play some minor thing. Let's see, I'm going to get it right. Okay, so I did major, then minor, all in one direction. So let's try the other one now. I'll go minor and then major. A lot of people play this stuff and hear it maybe even on a subconscious level, but they're not conscious of what they're playing or how to manipulate it, because when we improvise, it happens on like a semi-conscious, almost unconscious level. So if you can start becoming more conscious of your unconscious inner workings, then you can be a lot more on top of what's happening when you're improvising. It's kind of like improvising is a dreamlike state, and when you become conscious of these things, you're waking up during your dreams and watching. You're watching your dreams, which is how you should be listening and observing what you're playing when you're playing. So I might not be preconceiving what I'm playing, but when I'm improvising and it's happening naturally, just like now speaking's happening naturally, I'm listening to what I'm saying and recording what has not been written, has not been preconceived. So that's the beauty of improvisation. I did major, then minor, so now let's do minor and then major. That was minor, right? Now major. So we've heard riffs like this. This has been used over and over and over again, but it's one thing to play it and another thing to analyze and to understand what you're really hearing. So when you analyze this stuff, you're also identifying what is sounding acoustically, what a machine could perceive, record. So I went, some people know only minor pentatonic they'll play, which is fine, but they only play minor pentatonic. That's all they do is play riffs like that, and it gets very, very boring, very, very fast. So it also helps if somebody knows how to play and create decent riffs and connect them well. But there's a lot to be said for controlling what you're playing while you're improvising, or if not controlling it, practicing it so that when you do improvise, you're able to just automatically play stuff that you want to play and stuff you want to hear, which is even more important, right? So we did both. Now let's talk about the descending. I could descend with minor and then shift to major in the same directional movement. One descending directional movement. Remember that term? See that? So that was the minor, then major. Like you could have gone. Played them like straight up and down like that too, but you can create phrases that are like spoken phrases. Okay, so there I went both directions, but the idea here was to descend with minor and then continue with major. So when minor, major, descending, we could go minor, major, ascending too, which we did before. So let's do the other one now, which is going to be what? Major and then minor descending. So the second I played that note, it's like, whoa, it prepares that minor third. The mood shifts instantly. So there's all kind of major minor relationships. This type of stuff is just scratching the surface, really, of what you're doing. But it's important to use the directional differences. I think that's very important. So there's a major pentatonic with a passing tone there, flat 3 to major there. Then I chromatically connected 3 and 5. So I'm trying to do something that's less contrived here. So I'll go up with a real major, optimistic, positive sounding. And then come down with the minor. And then it'll B.B. King shake there, because B.B. was a master at using contrast between major and minor and major as well. So if I just started by playing this over the blues, it has some effect. But if I started by playing, it has more effect because of how the minor is being used contextually. You just heard major, and it created a mood, and then I shifted the mood. So it's a manipulation of the listener's emotions when you shift from major to minor. Another way to do it, I could play like a typical ascending minor riff. Let's see how they do it. So this, I don't really like extension fingering much, but there's a typical minor ascending thing. Sorry. Okay, there it is, and then they'll come back with some major. And this gets into the next series of videos that I will do, which is shifting things up so you're not always just playing in one position. So now I'm using this minor position and this major position, which is kind of a review. Not a review, but I'm sorry. A preview of what's about to come. So it's like minor and then major resolution, because I know how these notes appear in different positions. Or I could play a nice major thing and then change the mood like this. See how that worked from going to major? It's just knowing your scales.